Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. I'm Amy G. Honored to have Billy Beane, former Major League player and now VP and Special Assistant to the Commissioner, with us today. It is Pride Month, and Billy, I feel like it's just a privilege in baseball whenever you can witness history happen, and that is happening on this day as the Giants become the very first Major League team to don the Pride colors in honor of the LGBTQ plus community. And I gotta start with going back to when you were playing in '87 and '95, and if you could have imagined as a man who hadn't come out yet, would this day ever be here for you?
That's a great question. And it's because of today being so significant to me personally, and from the chair of my job in the effort to create a culture of acceptance across baseball. Humbled by the invitation of the Giants to be here to witness 30 years manifested to today. And I did play in a different generation, and I think the significance, the first thing that jumps out to me is the player's willingness to be a part of a broader, bigger message. And as a former player, and when you're playing, there's nothing more important to you than feeling respected in your clubhouse. It's more important internally to feel a sense of belonging than what the other team thinks of you. And as a player who was fighting every day of his big league career, the 6 years I played in the majors, to stay in the big leagues anyways, harboring that secret and feeling like I was one sentence away from my buddies not wanting me to be on their team or their friend because of all of the things that the constant chatter of homophobia that was pervasive everywhere in pro sports, and for little boys playing in recess, and sometimes our dads at the dinner table, in our generation, because there was no images, there was no examples of acceptance that were relatable to people outside of the LGBTQ community. And this is the significance to people like me when you see a collective group of Major League Baseball players, one of the most important and established brands of Major League Baseball, the San Francisco Giants, with a history of Willie Mays, shepherding this message. And it's going to be a really, really interesting day for me, how I am able to get through it, because the significance, it's hard to define it actually today. There's so much in it, and it's going to be so influential to so many people.
Have you had time to wrap your head around when you played, if times had been more like they are now? And if this was a day of awareness and education when you were playing, what that would have meant to you and maybe to your career, because if I'm not mistaken, you left the game.
Yes, yeah. The club is celebrating Tom Amiano tonight, and I've been aware of someone like him forever, his efforts to push civil rights equality for our community. He and I both lost a partner to HIV/AIDS right around the same time. And he's a whole generation older than me, and the idea of the culture that I was playing in, my family, my parents, what they thought was bonding, and I think that is why I wasn't equipped with the resources to even consider coming out, because there was no positive image. When I was playing for the San Diego Padres, and I was here, and the Giants had Until There's a Cure night, and I saw a pitcher named Rod Beck, who we all remember, and unfortunately has passed away, but good old Southern country boy, and I saw him wearing a little red AIDS ribbon to acknowledge that we wanted to fight for a cure for a disease, not anything else, and how it seemed so impossible. And I had already lost my partner in secrecy. And, there's just these little impulses that was like the first sliver of light that maybe there would be somewhere that baseball might be accepting of me. I didn't even equate it with talking to somebody about my secret, but for a player who might be navigating that decision to come out, today is a day, whether he's playing in a different city and he's in the big leagues or he's in the minor leagues, he's in AAA or AA, when they see the highlights of today's game and they see someone like Buster Posey wearing a jersey like today, who represents everything baseball could ever dream of, right? And just that little message of, hey, it's all good, man, it's okay.
Okay, so we know, you know more than anyone, how long it takes to get something on a uniform in Major League Baseball. It's a process. And here we are in 2021, and we're gonna see a uniform with the Pride colors. As you're telling your story, it starts to kind of become clear that the mindset is changing within Major League Baseball as to what we should be talking about, what we should be acknowledging and recognizing. But why do you think Major League Baseball, why is it now that they're ready to do this?
I think Major League Baseball is ready because the San Francisco Giants are ready, and the San Francisco Giants are leading this conversation, and that will be very influential. There's no like report card or timeline or true acceptance and true respect and evolution and growth and learning happens when it happens. And if the time is right today, you know, until there's a cure night 25, 26 years ago, the thought of putting a red AIDS ribbon on a Major League Baseball player, that conversation must have been stressful for Peter McGowan and Larry and all of these visionary, forward-thinking people that understand how important what happens here is to people who might not be in this chair or at this game today, but are watching on television or listening on the radio or read about or see it on the news. And so I think that we get better when we see examples that work. And today, I think why it's happening today is that the Giant players are so accustomed to this type of progressive messaging since they have been a part of this organization that today doesn't seem like such a leap. It feels like, yeah, it's what the Giants do. It's what it is like here. And that, the simplicity, the comfort of that is the accomplishment.
So I want to ask you about Gabe Kepler.
Sure.
Because the Giants have always been very confident and clear in where they stood on social issues and liberal. And I think Gabe Kepler on social issues, there's such a match made in heaven here. The Giants and Gabe Kepler, who has his own platforms that he's speaking on. And we've seen where he stands and what he feels in the past year plus of him being the Giants manager. He's been involved in Black Lives Matter. He's been involved with Stop Asian Hate, and he has no qualms at all or hesitation about sharing how he feels, which is empowering and liberating for people who watch him. How can a manager like that help not just the LGBTQ plus community in what we're discussing on this historic day, but any social injustices going on? It's such a huge platform.
It is, and I think the reason that Gabe has always marched to the beat of his own drum when he was a player. Everybody knew that. And we love characters in our sport, and he is, if he's anything, he is confident, and this is how he wants to live his life. And I think the little minute that he had outside of baseball between his playing career and getting back into the coaching and management and player development side was very impactful to him. And I've had some really amazing conversations with him about his sons and how they have taught him about what's going on in the world and really challenging each other. And I've never met them, his sons, but he talks about them with such pride that I think they must, obviously be amazing. But when Gabe was first being considered for major league management jobs, there was a dialogue that, oh, he's too liberal, he's too out there, and then he got the job, and the world didn't stop spinning. And I think that
we're all still here.
Right. It's really kind of reminds me of when we are talking about progress and vision, that if it all comes down to just sharing our values, we should never be afraid. And I think that why Gabe is so impactful, and I have great admiration for his foundation work that he's doing outside on his own time, you know, and is that he just thinks it's the right thing to do. And that's a really relatable foundation for somebody to make a new consideration. Sometimes it's easy not to think about LGBTQ plus issues. It's easy until it's a part or intersects in your life. It's easy for someone like you or me to, you know, tune out systemic racism that exists all around us because we're not subjected to it the way people of color are. But when you walk in the shoes of somebody, or you care deeply about somebody and you ask them about their life experience, that's when things start to appear, and you're like, that we can't allow this. And I think that there is such a level of awakening to the experience of others. And if one of 30 jobs that exist in the whole world, like Gabe Kepler's, if he wants to use that job, he won't keep that job if he doesn't do a great job. Sure. And the Giants are in first place right now, and things look really wonderful. Yes. So he's building off of that success, which is what I mean about on his own time, because there's no time to waste when you're managing a Major League Baseball club. But taking advantage of that for the benefit of others, if he manages 15 years, I bet you anything that he would say he could walk away with his head high, because he tried to do something a little more than just pull a check and keep his job for the next year.
You know, it comes full circle to you when you're honest with yourself and what you want to do. And how historic this day is, Gabe's cap will be going to the Baseball Hall of Fame. So that's really another level.
Right. Again, where how far baseball has come, and maybe it's just from my own personal perspective because of the darkness that I was trying to play in. I remember sitting in the parking lot before I would go into the clubhouse every day, and just trying to not think about the reality that I was living in, and just putting on that guard of being a tough big leaguer, and go to battle and hope that my teammates wouldn't see that there was something going on or wrong with my life off the field. And it just, wherever a player is, wherever a colleague, a stakeholder, a coworker, that little quiet voice in there, when they see this shirt today, it's just like, I like that. You know what I mean? That it's just it's like a little virtual connection or a hug of a message, and you just start to be like, okay, I'm getting there. And everyone's experience is different, and that's why I have been so adamant about the league or clubs or the culture being lifting a player to that moment, not a player doing it and lifting the sport up to where they are. And because it's really hard to be good out there. It looks like it's easy because they're so good at it, but it's really, really hard. And there's a lot of stuff going on. And I just hope that every player, whether you're straight or gay or whatever, that they get the most out of their potential and realize their dreams when they have that opportunity.
The last thing I want to ask you, because I think it's really important to acknowledge we're not where we want to be, but there's been a lot of progress, especially since you were a player. And I always feel that's important. I think people are like, but we want this now.
Right.
And it takes time. Progress and change is a journey. Over the past few years, the things I've been able to witness regarding women in sports has been so inspiring. Yeah. Now we're having, a day like this where players are going to be donning pride colors. So
I have a strong feeling about that. And I think for the people, and again, it comes back to someone like Tom being honored today, for the people that are out there fighting for change, there is not a moment like today that is taken for granted. There is such a deep level of appreciation because nothing happens overnight and nothing is perfect. you don't click on a link and the world changes, okay? It's like progress, changes in policy and law, state legislature. You have to work, and this is a culmination of a consistent effort to advance equality by the San Francisco Giants is why today's happening. And that, you can't fast forward that. And I think today is happening right when it's supposed to. And I'm just so excited to be here and watch the game and just soak it in, you know, and feel like, you know, being one of the people in the relay race with the baton for just a minute to run as fast as I can and move it over to the next.
Yeah, you've got the baton, you're going with it. There is today, Billy, somebody sitting in his car in a very dark place, very afraid to say who he is and live his truth. If he's a baseball player, where can he go? What would you advise if they're just somebody living life and working at a factory, somebody sitting in their car having those same exact feelings? What do you say to them? What is your advice? And in baseball, is there a place now where you can go if you need to?
Well, if you're in baseball, and I am available 24/7, you know, to help someone looking for help, resources. But what I would say to that person, whether, like you said, they're in the car, they're listening to this on their radio, or they see it on TV, or they're talking about it today, the biggest mistake that I made was that I thought coming out meant me being in my uniform with a step and repeat of my team's logo and a microphone on a table and telling the whole world at the exact same time. And that doesn't have to be the scenario. Coming out could be telling your roommate or your brother or your sister or your best friend or your cousin or your aunt or the one who gets you in your family. Or, you know, in my case, it's really, really difficult to think that my parents would not love me. It's still hard, you know. I don't know why I invented that had to be the case. So, you know, it's a very, very hard decision for somebody, and to just think of it just one person at a time, it would have changed my life. Because when I stopped lying about it, I felt a different kind of love from the people that mattered to me, and it really, even my relationship with my partner Sam, you know, the greatest regrets that I have. I mean, I didn't even go to his funeral. I mean, that is awful. I had a baseball game that day, and it's just hard to imagine that that's the headspace that a young kid was in. But
not when you look at what you were going through, though. Not when you look at the time, you know, and the fear that you had.
I appreciate that, but man, it just seems like, you know, I had isolated myself so much in that way, and the idea that you know, I know that not everyone's family is there for them, whether it's whatever expectations your parents have for your future, whether it's a job or college or career or where you live or whatever. We're all navigating through that, and it's hard to think, you know, especially when I'm with my parents, or, you know, I sent them a picture already of that today, just to, you know, and I know that my mom, she smiled, and then she probably got a little upset because, you know, they know how important my career was to me, and the thought that I went through something alone like that it's just a really, really difficult thing to forget about, and it really motivates and inspires me for those people that might be living in that spot that you're talking about. You know, it's easy to assume outside, or for someone else, that, oh, everybody comes out now, everybody loves gay people, everyone respects women at work. There's never a bad day for a woman at the job. They get all the breaks now. You know, like these lovely generalizations for people who don't know what it feels like to be you, or to be me, or to be her, or, you know, it's just one of those things that it's a fire that burns in the belly, you know. But I will always miss running out to center field and playing in a Major League Baseball game. And that, to think that I felt like leaving that was a better choice than talking to my family is a bitter pill to swallow.
I totally understand that, but I think the mark you're leaving on the game is just so much bigger, and it's so helpful to anyone, whether they're in your position or not. I mean, we can all learn from the adversity that we deal with and the truths that we have to face in our life. And I know your mom's heart may be broken a little bit for you because you feel you didn't reach your potential in the game, but she's so proud of what you're doing today. I know it, and I feel like we should send her one of these shirts.
I would love to.
We're going to send her a shirt. And June 5th, 2021, a historic day in baseball. Giants don in their pride colors. Billy Beane, you're amazing.
Well done, Giants.
Thank you.
It's about them today.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation.